Hello, this video is the installation guide for LG's innovative dual-view flat OLED signage. Before starting, let me introduce the core technology of this product, OLED. Why are people fascinated with OLED? OLED has no backlight unit and liquid crystal, so OLED is unbelievably thin and greatly light compared to earlier panels. OLED's image pixels are self-lighting, making blacks truly black and making colors pop. OLED's images also clear from any viewing angle. LG now brings revolutionary OLED technology to commercial displays, providing three main products to meet the variety of business needs. First, dual-view flat OLED signage. Second, dual-view curved tiling OLED signage. And third, Wallpaper OLED signage. The product I will introduce to you in this video is the dual-view flat OLED signage. Because dual-view flat OLED signage uses dual displays, it shows two different contents simultaneously, having unmatchable space-saving effect. You can install the dual-view flat OLED signage in three ways: on the ceiling, on a floor, and on a wall. Now, let me deeply introduce how to install the dual-view flat OLED signage, from unboxing and assembly to content playback. From now, let's start from the unboxing. Are you ready? This is the product box of dual-view flat OLED signage. Using the box cutter, carefully open the box. Remove the styrofoam on the top of the box and lift up the box. Not removing the styrofoam on the bottom will be better for easy installation. In the box, there are various components. Shall we take a look? A display set, T-Con front and rear covers, a signage box, signage box brackets, a signage box jack cover, an AC power cable, two 16-22-pin power cables, two HDMI cables, an RS-232C cable, two cable tubes, two cable holders, 5 different types of screws, a remote controller, and a simple manual. Before starting, please make sure to get all components ready. Also, these are additional accessory kits which need to be purchased separately for the 3 different types of installation. I will explain detailed information about the additional kits later in this video. Now, let's move on to the assembly of dual-view flat OLED signage, beginning with the ceiling type. I'll get started from the introduction of additional accessory kit. As you can see, these are the additional accessories needed for ceiling type installation. A ceiling mount bracket, a bracket cover, 4 500mm pipes, 4 anchor bolts, 4 M4 6mm screws for fixing the bracket covers, and 5 M3 5.5mm screws for locking the pipes. With the accessories, let's move on to display set and mount components assembly. Using the ceiling mount bracket, determine which place you want to install the product on the ceiling. If the ceiling needs to be penetrated, please get the anchor bolts ready. Remove 2 tapes from the display set and separate the T-Con cover into front and rear cover. Connect the pipe to the upper part of the display set. The pipe can be put up selectively according to the height of the space. Put the bracket cover on the connected pipe, and by rotating the ceiling mount bracket, combine it with the top part of the pipe. Tighten an M3 5.5mm screw through the hole on the pipe. It's time to assemble the display set. Since this product is dual display, both screens need cables respectively for power supply and content transmission. The HDMI cable for the front side has the front label on it, and the 16-22-pin power cable has red marks. On the other hand, the cables that have no front or red marks are for the rear side. Please keep this in mind. First, bend the 1622-pin connectors to 90 degrees so that they are in a straight line with the cable. Then, insert the connectors into the tube together. The other 1622-pin power cable for the rear screen needs to go through the same process. Slowly insert the two arranged 1622-pin cables and two HDMI cables into the assembled ceiling mount pipe. Take two cables for the front screen and arrange them to the T-Con's front side, and the two remaining cables for the rear screen to the rear side. The part where the IR receiver shown on the screen is the front side. Let's connect the cables to the front side first. Put the cable holder on the 1622-pin cable and tighten it with an M3 4.5mm screw. Remove the cable tube and connect the cables in the following order: red marked 22-pin, 16-pin, and front labeled HDMI. Please do the same thing for the rear side. Next is the assembly of the T-Con cover. Put the T-Con front cover on the front side, and then tighten 4 Pi3 6mm screws on the rear side. Put the T-Con rear cover on the rear side, and tighten 2 Pi3 10mm screws. Tighten 6 M4 10mm screws on the upper side of the T-Con cover. Now we've finished the display set assembly. Lift the display set carefully from both sides. Assistance is strongly recommended, as there is a possibility of dropping or damage of the display. Install the ceiling mount bracket on the top of the display to the ceiling, and using 4 M4 6mm screws, tighten and fix the cover. Through the gap on the side of the cover, arrange the cables neatly. Now is the last step of the installation: signage box connection. You're not far away from the end of installation. This signage box is needed for power supply and control of the product. On the side of the box, you can see various input and output ports. Since the product uses dual displays, all these ports are also divided into front and rear parts. The upper ports are for the front screen, and the bottom ports are for the rear screen. Do you also remember that the part with IR receiver is the front side of the display? Fantastic! Let's connect the cables now. First, connect the red marked 22-pin, 16-pin, and the front labeled HDMI cable to the upper part of the side, and non-marked 22-pin, 16-pin, and non-labeled HDMI cable to the bottom part in the same order. Then tighten them with 2 M3 4.5mm screws. Put the jack cover on to protect the cables, and fix it with 2 more M3 4.5mm screws. Finally, connect the power cable, and the signage box connection is complete. Congratulations! The installment of the ceiling type is complete. Now, this is the guide to the second installation way, the stand type. I'll get started from the introduction of additional accessory kit. We have two types of the stand base: the cylinder type with built-in signage box, and flat type with outer-mounted signage box. In this video, I will tell you how to install the cylinder type in detail. These are the additional accessories for the cylinder type installation: stand base and top cover, a pipe, an M3 5.5mm screw for locking the pipe, and 4 M3 4.5mm screws for combining the signage box. With the accessories, let's move on to floor stand assembly. Are you ready? Remove 2 tapes from the display set and separate the T-con cover into front and rear cover. Unfasten 6 screws and separate the top plate from the display set. Tighten the pipe to the top cover of the stand base. Then tighten the top plate to the pipe. Assemble an M3 5.5mm screw on the screw hole of the pipe. This is to make sure that the top plate and the pipe do not come apart. Now, let's connect the cable. First, bend the 16-22 pin connectors to 90 degrees so that they are in a straight line with the cable. Then, insert the connectors into the tube together. The other 16-22 pin power cable for the rear screen needs to go through the same process. Slowly push the arranged 2 16-22 pin power cables and 2 HDMI cables to the top plate's hole until the cables come out of the upper side of the stand base. Great! There you go! This is the next step, signage box connection. Let's connect the cables now. First, connect the red marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and the front labeled HDMI cable to the upper part of the side, and non-marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and non-labeled HDMI cable to the bottom part in the same order. Then tighten them with 2 M3 4.5mm screws. Put the jack cover on to protect the cables and fix it with 2 more M3 4.5mm screws. Connect the power cable. Combine the signage box brackets to the 2 sides of the signage box by using 2 M4 8mm screws each. Put the signage box inside the stand base and using 4 M3 4.5mm screws, fix them together. Pull the power cable outside through the hole of the stand. Put the stand top cover over the stand base. Please make sure that you insert the 3 poles on the bottom of the stand top cover into the holes on the stand base. This is how it looks when the stand and signage box installation is complete. Now, let's move on to the last step. Next is the last step, display set and stand components assembly. Carefully lift the display set and turn it over so the T-con faces the bottom. Assistance is strongly recommended as there is a possibility of dropping or damage of the display. Pull all the cables on the top part of the stand through the hole on the bottom part of the display set. Then, take the 2 front cables to the front side of the T-con and the remaining 2 cables to the rear side. The part with the IR receiver, as shown here, is the front side. Put the display set on the stand. Then, using the 6 screws which were unfastened to separate the top plate at the first step, combine the top plate again. On the front side, put the cable holder on the red-marked 16-22 pin power cable and strongly tighten them with an M3 4.5mm screw. Connect the cables in the following order: red-marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and front labeled HDMI. The same goes for the rear side. Since the fundamental setting of the dual-view flat OLED signage is based on the ceiling type installation, the T-con cover of the stand type shows the LG's logo upside down. Remove the screw on the back and rearrange so that LG logo is set up right. Don't forget to do it. Assemble the rearranged T-con cover. Put the T-con front cover on the front side and tighten 4 Pi3 6mm screws on the rear side. Put the T-con rear cover on the rear side and tighten 2 Pi3 10mm screws. Tighten 6 M4 10mm screws on the upper side of the T-con cover. Thank you for your effort. Now the stand type installation is complete. You did a great job! Now, this is the guide to the third installation way, the wall-mounted type. I'll get started from the introduction of additional accessory kit. These are the additional accessories for the wall-mounted type installation. A wall mount, 2 wall mount brackets, 2 wall mount covers, and a side cover, 4 anchor bolts, 8 M4 8mm screws for installing the wall mount, 6 M4 16mm screws for assembling the wall mount brackets, and 2 Pi 4 10mm screws for assembling the wall mount covers. With the accessories, let's move on to display set and mount components assembly. Are you ready? Remove 2 tapes from the display set and separate the T-con cover into front and rear cover. It's time to assemble the display set. First, bend the 16-22 pin connectors to 90 degrees so that they are in a straight line with the cable. Then, insert the connectors into the tube together. The other 16-22 pin power cable for the rear screen needs to go through the same process. Slowly insert the 2 arranged 16-22 pin power cables and 2 HDMI cables into the whole of the display set in order. Let's connect the cables to the front side first. The part with the IR receiver is the front side of the T-con. Remove the cable tube and put the cable holder on the 16-22 pin power cable. And tighten it with an M3 4.5mm screw. Connect the cables in the following order: red marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and front labeled HDMI. Please do the same thing for the rear side. Next is the assembly of the T-con cover. Put the T-con front cover on the front side and then tighten 4 Pi 3 6mm screws on the rear side. Put the T-con rear cover on the rear side and tighten 2 Pi 3 10mm screws. Combine 2 brackets to the display set. First, tighten the front side bracket by using 4 M4 16mm screws. Then, insert the cables of the display through the rear side bracket's hole. Tighten with 2 other M4 16mm screws. Install the wall mount on the wall. If the wall needs to be penetrated, use 4 anchor bolts. Carefully lift the display set and fit the wall mount and the wall mount brackets together. Then, fix with 8 M4 8mm screws. This can be very dangerous by yourself, so please have someone who can assist you. Match display's front and back direction to the cover and fix it with 2 Pi 4 10mm screws. Pull out the cable through the cover's bottom gap. Next step is the signage box connection. First, connect the red marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and the front labeled HDMI cable to the upper part of the side, and non-marked 22 pin, 16 pin, and non-labeled HDMI cable to the bottom part in the same order. Then tighten them with 2 M3 4.5mm screws. Put the jack cover on to protect the cables and fix it with 2 more M3 4.5mm screws. Finally, connect the power cable and the signage box connection is complete. Now the wall-mounted type installation is finished. Great job! Until now, we have looked at detailed steps for each installation type. From now on, let's play the content, which will shine the display even more. In this content playback chapter, from initial setting to mirroring. I'll tell you how to execute content through dual view flat OLED signage. Let's start with the initial setting. Press the power button on the remote control. The basic setting screen appears as shown. By using the remote control, set language, continent, country, and lastly, time zone. Then press OK, and the screen moves to the next page. The rotation setting page will directly follow. The initial display mode of dual view flat OLED signage is for ceiling type. So, in the case of the wall-mounted installation, both OSD and content need to be rotated at 90 degrees, and for stand-type installation, 180 degrees in order to play the content in the right way. So you don't have to make change for this case, the ceiling type. Press the Next button. Next is the dual view screen setting. In this screen, the names of the two screens can be set so that they will not be confused against one another. Then the network and on-off timer can be set according to your user environment. This is the end of initial setting. Now it's time to play the content. Let's use a USB memory this time. First, insert the USB memory on the upper USB port of the Signage Box. Press the Home button of the remote control facing the front side. Operate the launch bar. Move to the right and select Video. Select the USB disk. Then, choose a content you want to play back. Great! Now, let's play a content on the rear side as well. The method is exactly the same with the front sides, so it will be very easy. Shall we move on quickly? First, insert the USB memory in the USB port on the lower part of the Signage Box. Press the swapping hotkey on the remote control and bring the rear side screen to the front side. I'll tell you about the swapping function in detail later on, but please don't forget that you have to bring the rear screen first to set and control the rear screen. Launch the bar by pressing the Home button and choose Video. Select the USB disk, find the preferred content, and select it. Now, content are being played on both sides of the dual display. Let's take a look at the exclusive functions that can be used in dual view flat OLED signage, swapping and mirroring. First, the swapping function. Press the swapping hotkey on the remote control facing the front side of the display. Then, the scene on the front screen moves to rear, and the scene on the rear screen moves to front. Let's do it once more. Great! Next, let's take a look at the mirroring function. This is also an easy but surprising function. Press the mirroring hotkey on the remote control. The front screen and the rear screen become identical. If you want to cancel the mirroring mode, then just press the mirroring hotkey one more time. One thing to remember here is that the screen benchmarked in the mirroring function is always the front screen, where the IR receiver is placed. In case you want to mirror the screen which is being played on the rear side, use the swapping function mentioned previously. Bring the rear side screen to front, and then use the mirroring function. Until now, you've learned about how to install the dual view flat OLED signage. Now it's time for you to enjoy the various benefits of the innovative signage. The signage you choose has the power to move hearts and minds. LG OLED Signage.